Okay, I'm with you today. I'm John from Johnny Thundersticks, and we're going to do a disassemble and a reassemble of the iconic 1911 pistol. This particular model is a Hartford model, 1911. These were produced in the 90s, and we did quite a few of them for EMF Company in California. And so, anyway, we're going to start with taking this one down. And what I would suggest you do is to please wear some safety glasses when you're doing this. And that will prevent you from getting anything, a spring flying loose and getting you in the eye. So, we're going to start with taking the slide off. And what I do is I usually make sure that there's nothing in the gun. Magazine's out, as you can see, magazine's out of it. There's nothing in the chamber. I start with the hammer back, and I take off the barrel bushing. This tool has a little bump on it, so that helps capture that spring. Always kind of point it down. These things come out of here with a lot of force. Okay, so then what you're going to want to do is just rotate this slide back till you come to the little notch in the slide itself, and then push out your stop, and you're ready to pull the top off. Okay, so what I do from here is I take out the this is your recoil spring, and the recoil. Some guys like to use a one-piece rod in here. This is a spring. This particular one's an old style, but it works really well. It keeps the one piece kind of keeps you from getting spring bound, like if the spring goes one side or another. But the old style work well as if you're not shooting super heavy duty ammo. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and take out the bushing. I rotate the bushing around. This one's a little on the tight side, so I just use a little screwdriver here and very carefully just give it a little force so it comes out. That's your barrel bushing. Okay, then the barrel will slide to the front and out, and that's your barrel link here. And these links come in several different sizes. If you're doing one from the ground up and you're fitting the barrel and all that, then you can change the size of these. There's like I think 3 or 4 different sizes of the barrel link, but if you're just doing a tear down and a replacement of some parts or whatever, you really don't have to mess with that unless you're having an issue with the pin or whatever. They usually hold up pretty well. Okay, so then we're going to take and pull out the firing pin and spring and the retainer. Keep your thumb over it as you get the retainer loose, because these come out of there in a hurry. Okay, so the extractor here, it comes out of the side, and we'll go over a couple items on that. And there you have the slide itself. Other than the sights, are all down and stripped. So now we'll start with the lower end. The lower end has a pin here, and that pin you probably have to use a punch I'm not going to take the grips off because there's really nothing there that we need to deal with just on this teardown. So um, I take a punch, a little hammer, and drive this pin out. Once the pin's out, keep your thumb on that so it doesn't fly out of there. This is your main spring housing, trigger housing, whatever, trigger spring housing, whatever you want to call it. I've heard it called 100 different things. So anyway, with your hammer back, then take the safety and go about halfway between the safe and the lock part, the safe part and the unlock part, about halfway, and then just jiggle it back and forth a little bit and work it out. Okay, so that's your thumb safety, and then here's your grip safety. I then take out the sear spring, and then your hammer and your disconnector and all that are ready to come out. I take this spring. This is the safety and the stop lock um, pins. So turn it over here, and the first thing I do is I just put a little pressure on it, and it usually comes out, but it's probably going to take a little persuasion today. Not much. And that'll take your hammer out of the way. Okay, so then you take that same little punch and push out your sear and your disconnector pin. Those will fall out the bottom just like that. Okay, so then you're ready to take out the mag release. And the mag release, you got to push it out, probably, I don't know, just maybe a strong 16th until you can feel the screw reach. It's in a little notch, a little cut in groove on the frame. So you take that and you go counterclockwise with it, and there's your mag catch. Now, after the mag catch is out, your trigger will come out, and there you have basically all of the frame stripped. So I'm going to go back over it piece by piece with you here, and uh, this is one of our competition match competitions triggers, and it has a aluminum pad and a stainless bow. And what I do on these is I take and I put a light sanding on the bow itself. I just sand these really lightly, and what you're doing is just getting the edges, trying to get those edges from being sharp. Just kind of round them off a little bit. You're not taking a ton of material off. Same thing with the back. You want to do that. Do both sides. So the side two, run it all the way through, and look for any spots on the trigger when you pull them apart. Look for any spots that may be hanging up or whatever. Um, Sometimes you'll get some where just it's rubbing a little bit, and you want to just kind of clean that up, and that really helps. One of the tricks that I do with my triggers, and people like my trigger job, so I think it works. I take a flat file, and on the bottom edge of the trigger, I put a small bevel all the way across. Not a huge one, but just probably something that's about, I don't know, 45, maybe 60 degrees, 50, 60 degrees. And after you get that where it's got this to more of a rounded rather than a sharp edge, then just take your sandpaper, and I take 400 grit and just kind of round it off, polish the back end just like that, wipe them all off. And I don't use any oil on my triggers when I put them in. I do afterwards, but when I'm first putting them in the gun, I like to feel what it feels like dry, because that's going to give you a good indication of whether or not it's really where you want it. And by what when I say where you want it, what I mean is we do these triggers and we make the pads oversized, so that because they're oversized, you can fit them to your gun really well. You don't want the triggers going in and being real wobbly or side to side, or you want them to be nice and snug, but yet functioning really well. So we sell two different ones. This is this competition match one, the 3 hole, and then this has a little fancier cut to it. Same kind of qualities, aluminum pad and stainless bow. And if you follow through on my videos and you'd like to purchase one of these, let me know and I'll give you a really good deal on it for giving me some support. Thank you. And so what we want to do, these also have the hole that you see in there. It has an adjuster for backlash, so you can adjust that with your trigger. So when you go in with your trigger, ideally what you want your trigger to do is you want your trigger to fall on its own weight. You see how that's, I'm just barely tapping that and it's falling on its own weight. You don't want it to where it's like you push it up and it stays there. You want it to fall on its own weight, and then that lightens what the spring has to do for one, but it also gives you a real smooth, nice trigger. Okay, so that's the trigger part. The um, the mag catch, what I do on those is it has on the part where the mag first goes in, the mag catch has a little ledge here that you can see this ledge, and then it has a ramp. Well, that little ramp where it's first going in, where the magazine um, comes up to lock in, so it locks right there. You want that to be this area right here. I sand that. I don't take material, a lot of material off. What I do is I just round that edge and I make it smooth so that when the magazine goes in, it doesn't have anything grabbing onto it. It's just, it goes in and it's nice and smooth. This has a little spring and a retainer in there, and then you go clockwise to release that. And there's your retainer, and then here's the spring, which it's about an inch long or so. That's your spring, and I use Wolf springs. This is a Wolf spring, a little bit of reduced tension for the mag catch, which makes it real nice if you're trying to release your magazine really fast. That reduced weight makes it so you don't have to push like crazy to get it to come out. When you're putting it back in, the spring goes in like that. Then the retainer goes in with the little tab facing this opening here. And here's another spot where you want to make sure you're wearing safety glasses, because these things can get away from you and get you. So push it in, go counterclockwise. That locks it back into the mag catch, and then when you drop it in the gun, you drop it in, and it'll go all the way in. But there again, you want to bring it out a little bit, and with a small screwdriver, as you're turning it, you'll feel it kind of where it's got to be. Just turn it clockwise, and it locks it into place. So there's your mag catch, and the mag catch. I always test them. There it's in. There's how it drops. So you want it so that that goes in, very easily catches, very easily comes out. That's how that one works. Okay, so now what I do is I put and I'll go over this more in detail in some other videos, but I'm just trying to do a takedown and assembly now, but kind of going over briefly some of the things I do when I do them. So on these, I polish the face. If you have any edges that stick out and may go into your mag well, you want to just lightly polish those so that they're not hitting the magazine as it goes in and out. And so you polish this face here, and then on the sear itself, um, this one, you want it to, when it comes up into the hooks, the you want it so that it rides up and it hits these hooks here, and then as it goes over real quickly, um, I put a little bit of a back cut on here, and that's very easy to do. You just hold it upside down and you just do a couple of strokes, and what that does is that polishes this edge of the sear itself, and that will that'll let it clear those hooks quicker when you pull the trigger. You don't want these hooks. You want these hooks to be about 18 or 19 thousandths high and on a 90-degree for sure, so that they catch this, they stop it, and then release real smooth. So putting those together, the orientation of that one is the sear. The disconnector sits with the flat part down, and the sear sits on it with the sear part coming up. And then what I do is I take these and you put it in the hole there that's for the sear or for the disconnector. You see the disconnector right there. Um, take a small punch, go through the side hole, and just make sure you capture both of those. Take your pin. There again, I've used a little bit of oil on them. So if you've watched any of my stuff, you know I'm an oil freak. Okay, so there we go. We're going to start this the sear and the disconnector pin here. And what you want to make sure you do is you capture both of those. So when you put it in, check it, make sure it's in there and it's working, and that's good. Okay, so then I install the hammer, and the hammers. This is a hammer that we sell. Also, it's a lightweight, nice little hammer. Okay, so that goes in here. Put a little bit of oil on that pin as well. You got to remember this particular gun has lots of rounds through it. So um, okay, then just make sure that that hammer is free. There's no dragging. It's just real smooth. Okay. So the next step would be the sear spring. And the sear spring consists of 3 legs, as you see. And those 3 legs, this is the main part that holds the disconnector in place. This is your trigger, this one here, and this is your grip safety tension. So you can adjust this however you like your grip safety. I kind of like to feel the grip safety a little bit. If you see the orientation of these legs here, you always want this leg, this first leg that's a disconnector leg, ahead of your trigger leg, about like it is right there. That'll still give you a really nice trigger, and it'll keep it safe because the disconnector, the other part of the leg, was holding that disconnector. Okay, so that will go in like that. This is the I'll take it apart just so you can see it. But this particular part is the they call this either the mainspring or trigger spring. What I do is I put a little tension on it just to push it down and pull the retainer pin out. That's the little retainer pin. Got a flat end on one side. There's your mainspring or trigger spring or hammer spring, excuse me. I also use, this is a Wolf spring. Wolf makes awesome gun springs, and I've used them for years, and I love them. So that's my go-to. I've tried a few others. I really do like the Wolf springs, and they're a great company to deal with. Okay, so then you push this back down, put your retainer back in, retainer pin, and that's your mainspring. I'm going to call it a mainspring because that's what I think it is. You want this flat. You want that little sucker in there all the way. So when you put your sear spring in, make sure that the sear spring is where it's got to go, around those so you can see it. Then go ahead and start this in about halfway, maybe a little bit further than halfway. Then bring your trigger arm down there and stick this is your grip safety, and you'll see once I stick this pin in, I take the thumb safety and I just stick it in the hole so that I can double check. You can see the tension, you can hear it, see the tension on that, so that it's right and it feels. That's how I like them anyway. So that's there. Push it down a little bit so you get this up far enough. Okay, the pin goes back in this hole here. Need a little bit of a punch here, and just run this in till it's flush with the frame. That way it doesn't catch on anything. It's in there. Okay, so now with the thumb safety in place, put a little bit of oil on these little parts here, and stick those back in the tube. Get them all the way in there. Okay, so then you want to pull. This is where you want to pull your hammer back, and I have this little tool here that depresses that spring as you're pushing. Put a pressure on it down, then it'll snap right into place, and there's your thumb safety. On safe, doesn't fire, take it off safe, and there it goes. Okay, so that's basically your lower is together there. So we're going to take the upper part, the slide, and these springs that I use it's a Wolf, and they're a veritable power recoil spring, and they're calibrated. The spring itself and the firing pin spring are calibrated together. So when you're using these, they work together. You don't want a real heavy duty firing pin spring with a lighter weight recoil spring, because it just you'll be fighting yourself. So again, those are made by Wolf. So we're gonna do the extractor here, and this is the extractor. What I do with these is I take a real fine file And the extractor on this corner right here, on this edge of the extractor, you want to just take this file really lightly and work that sharp edge off. Once you get that sharp edge off, you're not wanting to take tons of material off of it. You're just wanting to get that so that it's rounded, so that when your bullet comes up, it grabs it like that. It's important that this hook is got enough area there too. And the killer with these, and then you want to polish those really well. The killer with these is when people drop the slide and it goes around, and sometimes that can bend these a little bit or break them even. So be careful with that. There's a couple of ways you can adjust these. This particular one's already adjusted, but if you take it and you put it in the gun and you run it up to about where this first little notch, this little nub right here is, so put it in and then just pull back lightly on it like this. You're not going to break it, but what you're doing is you're trying to put a little bit of a bend in it. If you look at it, you can see there's a curve in there. So then that fits in the gun like this. And what I always do is I always try to line this up the best I can. Put the retainer back in without the spring, without the firing pin and spring. And sometimes you need a little persuasion here, just like so. Okay, so now that's in there, and the reason I did that is I want to show you what you're trying to accomplish here is you take a dummy round. Don't use live ammo ever when you're working on guns. Um, it's it's a sad deal, but I know a guy that shot his hand off because of it. Okay, so what you're trying to do is make it so that your extractor will hold tension so that when it comes back against the frame here, this will hit on this ejector and the ejector will throw it out. If it's not strong enough and it cuts loose, then it's going to flop around and either go into a, jam of some kind. So you want to make sure, if you see I can hit that and it doesn't move, that's just about perfect right there. But also on the on the ejector, what I do is I take a file and I file a little bit of an angle backward so that when it comes back, when the bullet comes, when it's coming back, it hits it and it starts it already working its way out. Okay, so that's got the extractor all back in there. We'll put the firing pin in and the spring, of course. What I do is I just kind of hold these so that it's get this back up here so I don't mess my table up too bad. So what I do with these is I get it back far enough so it's just up against that firing pin, and then I push the firing pin in, and just till you feel it kind of go over the edge, you'll feel it go over the edge of it. Then just push this down, you'll hear it snap. Put a drop of oil on there, and then what you want to do is you want to test it, make sure that it's free, that there's nothing holding it, and that'll make that work perfect. Okay, so then we're going to put the barrel in. I usually put some oil right on the end of this barrel. I don't really like using grease because grease will collect dirt, and the dirt's a killer on any semi-automatic weapon at all. So be real careful with that. So their bushing goes in with the little nub on the bushing up, facing up. Once you get it in there, then you can rotate that. Once it's all the way in, there we go. Once it's all the way in, you can rotate it out of your way, and that'll allow you to start your spring back in. There again, this is a Wolf spring, recoil spring, that is calibrated with the firing pin spring. Okay, so those are going to go in like so. Now what you do is you take your frame, and I put a couple little bit of oil there and there, and want a little bit on the disconnector. All right, and as we stick this together, you'll see where they line up. Just drop your slide stop in. Once you get your slide stop in, slide stop in, pull it forward and put your safety on. And then I'm going to get this a little closer because it is tight. Okay. Run that back in, retain it just a fuzz. Push down on it, and then just turn it till you hear it click, and that make sure that's in that little cut for the bushing. And then I kind of got ahead of myself there just a little bit. Ideally, what you want to do first of all, and I did get ahead of myself because okay. So what you want to do next is you want to release the slide safety there, and line up this little notch, this little rounded half round notch there with the slide, and then bring your safety or your catch over your slide stop and lock it in there. Now you're ready for this guy. Okay. Yeah, you can bring it over and make sure it locks in. Release your thumb safety. There we go. Okay, so this is where I like to use Ballistol. Ballistol is an excellent oil. And I put a little bit of Ballistol on the top of the barrel. And sometimes I also work a little bit around the trigger, put a little bit of oil right around the trigger where the trigger rotates there. You don't need a ton, but you keep your guns lubricated and clean, they'll work excellent. So there you kind of have that, and if you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them. And there again, I'll offer you a discount on my triggers and hammer or whatever, and just let me know and we'll get that done. Okay, well, thank you.